Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 6th meeting of the Planning Policy Commission. Tonight, we have two things on our agenda. The first being a discussion of the proposed docket of the 2020 Comprehensive Plan, just as a discussion. Then we will have a vote on the rules and regulations governing our board. And then if anybody's here, we'll open it up to public then we're going to have a public hearing in the middle of that. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for other issues that, if there's anybody here that they would like to discuss. As usual, we have 2 minutes that we have to approve. And I know we can do it all at once, but I would prefer doing it individually. So I need a motion to accept the minutes of January 9th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes on January 9th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the minutes of January 11th.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes for January 11th.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So if we get into the rules and regs, there is a little change in who is able to participate. Since we are going to have a vote to approve the regs this evening.
Right, and actually the public hearing is first.
Oh, I know, we're not doing it
Oh,
now.
okay.
I just want to explain that there are 7 regular members of the board, and since there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, the alternate that is on our board, Robin, is now considered a member of a regular member, and he will have the right to vote tonight. With that, I will open it up for discussion on the proposed docket for 2020.
Excellent. And can you all see on your screen? Do you all have the screen? Okay.
Yep.
I'm still getting used to that. I'm getting used to this. Okay. Here we are again, at the beginning of the year. Before I do that, I want to introduce to you our famous person in the audience here is Andrea Snyder. She is our Deputy City Administrator. Do I have that right? And she comes to us, she used to be our Economic Development Manager at Issaquah. She took a sabbatical to learn more wisdom, and she's back now, and she's been amazing. And now she wants to spend more time with boards and commissions, and so she's here tonight. I don't know if she's ever been to a Planning Policy Commission meeting, so I've already told her how amazing you all are. So,
Of course.
So this is Andrea, and welcome, and thank you for being here on such a rainy, floody night. We appreciate that you're here, because it's been quite a doozy of a day. And so with that, I will start again. Today, we start the comprehensive plan amendment process as we do the beginning of every year. And the purpose of tonight is for you all to have a chance to look at the list, which the appropriate name is called the docket, but it's a list of amendments that we believe we will work on throughout the year. And the state requires that we establish the list early in the year and that no other items be added at the last minute, so that all of the amendments can be done consistently and connectedly, so that the comprehensive plan continues to be comprehensive and not changed piecemeal. You all received an email about an updated docket. I believe that went out yesterday. And the reason for the update is we found out from Public Works Department that the stormwater plan will not be done till early next year. So we removed that. We don't have to change the utilities and public service element this year because it won't be done yet. And also, when we sent out the packet, we had talked to several property owners that said they would get their applications in for proposed rezone and redesignations by Friday, which the code says they have to have them in by January 31st. And they didn't get them in. So we wanted you all to have the real docket that includes the real property owners that did get their applications in, so that you weren't considering parcels that they didn't get their application in, so we can't consider them. So that's why you got a new docket emailed, and if you need a paper copy with the new docket and the new map in it, they're right by Joan if you want a paper copy of the new map and the new, but those were emailed out to you yesterday. So sorry about that, but the packet had to go out before the deadline for applications, so we knew it might be a little different. Tonight, what we're going to accomplish is you're going to review the list. We're going to take public comment from the many people in the audience. You're going to be able to discuss and ask each other questions and ask staff questions. And then hopefully, if you're comfortable with all the information you've received, you'll be able to make a recommendation to City Council about what items you believe should be on the docket for this year. This is the process that we go through each year. You all review the docket and make a recommendation to the council in January and February. In March, council establishes the docket. April through August, staff prepares all the items and amendments for you to review, so that when you have the public hearing in September, you've seen each of them at least once, is what we try to do. And then November and December, council takes action on the amendments. Sometimes things happen, as you know from last year, and we have many public hearings, but we're hoping that maybe it won't be so exciting as it was last year. The proposal for this year, there aren't that many. You probably noticed the transportation element is hopefully going to be replaced with a new mobility master plan and the updated transportation improvement program. The land use element will have its updated tables that will show the new housing units, the new jobs, and the new development capacity information that we figured out this year. The capital facilities element will have an update for the park impact fees that we continue to work on. And there are 3 land use designation rezones to consider. Amazingly, none of them are asking for community facilities this year. They are all asking to be zones that are for private use, for private ownership, which is a little different. We haven't had that in a while.
Chris,
Yes.
is that actually correct for, if we look at item number 3 in the table?
Okay, item 3, table which?
It says community facilities redesignation and rezones, parcel 342, it's item parcel number 1, south side of East Sunset Way and East 6th Avenue Southeast.
Are you looking at the new one, Ron?
No, I'm looking at the one that I got mailed.
Okay. Thank you, Joan. There was a new docket sent out yesterday that has new parcels on it, and these are the parcels that we received applications for.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to send them all down.
While we're at it. All right, let me
There
just see
you
if
go.
it's still on here, and
We are always so prepared. You send out the agenda on Friday, so of course we read it right away.
I know that you do.
And then you change it, and we're not prepared.
I know that you do. You guys did all your homework, and come Monday, you're done. I totally understand that.
Well, not quite, but.
all right. So it's not on the new docket.
There you go.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Why would it not be on the new docket?
I just mentioned they did not get their application in by the code deadline of January 31st, so because they did not meet the deadline, they did not make the docket.
Our previous packet had applicants who had said this to the city, we're planning on this. So they had prepared documentation for us, but this is now the updated situation for who made the deadline.
Okay.
Thank
so
you, Joy.
Perfect. But this particular parcel is city-owned?
It's owned by State Parks. They purchased the property.
It's south side East Sunset Way
Right.
and East 6th?
Correct.
Right,
It
and
goes-
part of the parcel is inside the city, and the other part of the parcel is just outside of the city.
Oh, okay.
May I follow up on that? Is this the parcel pertaining to an email sent by Connie Marsh?
No, hers is on the RV park,
That is not the,
which is item number 2, parcel number 2.
okay, sorry.
Okay, so it's not on.
It's been a busy week, yes.
We'll let it go then.
Okay. So this is the new and improved map of the 3 parcels that are on the list to be thought about for redesignation and rezones. And again, all 3 of them are asking for a designation and a zone that would allow them to use their land for private use. And I'll go over them one at a time and take all your questions. Parcel 1 is on the corner of Newport Way and SR 900. It's less than an acre. Driving by it today, well, it's probably hard to see today with all the water there might be there, but it's a landscaping business now for contractors. It's been that since, I believe, 1978. It's now low-density residential. The zone is single-family suburban, and it's surrounded all on the south side of Newport Way. It's all single-family suburban. They would like a zone mixed use or professional office so that it would be more in keeping with that they have a landscape business there. Any questions on this particular parcel?
Well, but nothing's changing. They're still able to operate their business on the existing.
Right, they're legally non-conforming. They got a PUA, we called it back then. In 1977, they had like a oil, gas business there, and then the year later, they asked if they could add one more use, the landscaping use. So they've had the approval to have a landscape use there since 1978. It's a little different. We don't do PUAs anymore because it tends to make your zoning map a little odd, because it's like, wow, it's a single-family zone and it has a landscape business. So we don't do those anymore, but that one, because it still has been operating all these years since it was allowed, it's a legally non-conforming use. So if, heaven forbid, anything should happen to it, they'd still be able to rebuild because they are legally non-conforming.
So if this rezoning was approved, what else would be able to be built on that?
Well, if, that's what we do when we actually
Right, okay,
review the whole thing, but certainly we jump to that if they were rezoned to something else, that's one of the things we would show you in the analysis that we
That's
do.
not being determined
Right,
yet. I see, I'm
right.
sorry.
What's the pros and cons of rezoning it? Because if it's non-conforming, they're able to...
This is just, remember, this is just the list. We haven't done the analysis yet to tell you what the pros and cons are. Today, we're just letting you know that they've asked to be on the list.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. They're just, so we're just assessing this for proposed
For the list.
learnings later.
Right, this is just to see if we should continue forward, or if council should direct us to continue forward with the analysis of this request.
Understood.
I know it's hard not to just jump to the next step, but this is just the list. Any other questions on this?
Why would we
Yes.
say don't continue with the analysis? Give me an example of a situation similar to this with some other site, some other time, where the council committee said, no, we don't want you to proceed even with an analysis of this.
Right. There was once a parcel just outside the city limits that asked for, they had like an easement on the border, and they asked for that easement to be changed so that their subdivision outside the city could have access to the city, and the council did not want to entertain moving forward with that. That would be something, but every case is different, so, we actually have to ponder it to make sure that you want to spend staff resources and committee resources on pondering those things, but each of them are different. Any other questions on this one? Okay. This is a really interesting one. This is called, this is parcel 2. This is on the city-owned RV park, which is also, happens to be the same parcel as the city's public works operations site. The actual proposal for this parcel would not take the entire parcel. If it was approved down the road, we would actually do a lot line adjustment to make part of it still be the shop site, the public works shop site, and the other part have a changed zone. And the reason that this is being requested to be commercial is so that we're still trying to work out the transit-oriented development that's next door to the Issaquah Transit site on Maple and SR 900. And we're trying to find a home for CenturyLink. Because if CenturyLink can move somewhere, then we have that spot, that parcel next to the transit center, that we could do a transit-oriented development with affordable housing and all sorts of great pieces. But we're still trying to find a usable spot that CenturyLink would like to move to. And so this is the proposal, is that part of this parcel, where right now there's an RV park that the city owns, that we could use that for CenturyLink, and then they would move, sort of the dominoes, they would move, and then we could do transit-oriented development. And this is the one that Connie wrote about in her email, is the RV site. Are there questions on this one?
I got a question for number 3, if we're not there yet.
Okay.
Just want to make sure.
You had coffee before you came, I can tell. Parcel 3, are we ready for parcel 3? And if you think of other questions, you can always ask. This is on Black Nugget Road, it's a little small parcel. Currently, it's a single-family home. Its existing zone is single-family estates, and the owner would like either mixed use or retail. And this is one, has some extra information for you, is that at this point, the administration doesn't support the change. We support them moving forward and asking, but as your professional staff, we're not in favor of it because it's single family, and if it changed to a non-residential use zone, all the properties adjacent to it are still single family, so it would be sort of like a spot zone. It would be inconsistent with its neighbors. And so we tell you that just as that was the first thing that we noticed when they asked for it, was, wow, on the block you've got single family, and then there would be this mixed use or something. And so we think it should go forward to council, and we think we should ponder it, but just from the face of it, it doesn't seem like a great idea, because it would be a spot zone. So we would want to find out more about it before we, said yay or nay. But just at first glance, it doesn't seem to fit with the adjacent neighborhood right now.
Can I ask a question about that
Yes.
specific parcel? One, is it the same owner that owns the adjacent property?
No.
Okay. On that, you happen to, from looking at the old packet versus the new packet.
Oh.
No, number 3.
There's a reason there's a new packet, Ron.
But the numbers themselves, only the first 2 digits are different in the parcel number. So I'm wondering if that's a typo. That's really, it's kind of unique that we start off with 29240697075 for parcel, and in the old packet, which is in a totally different end of the city, is 3324069075.
I will put that under advisement to my map expertise to make sure we have the exact right parcel number.
Okay.
Thank you for flagging that, because I have no idea. My map genius says that it is correct in the new packet.
Oh, okay. I just saw that as like, what's the chances of that actually happening? I don't know, but.
There are some long numbers there. Any other questions on proposal parcel 3? Okay. Our recommendation as your staff is that all of these should move forward as presented.
And it'll come back through here one more time, right?
Probably many times.
When they, after this, actually, great question, Bill. The timing of this, once you all tell us what you recommend to council, it would go to council and they would establish the docket, and they may be happy with it as it's presented tonight. They may have changes, don't know. But then all the ones that are on the docket would start coming to you with the analysis, with the language, with the zones, with all of the information that we can find to help you then make actual recommendations on the amendments. And that would continue on until the public hearing, sometime in September. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, so that's the timeline. And there's questions. So you could open up the public hearing now? I don't see that anyone
First of
signed
all,
up.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none.
Okay, and there were just the two letters. I don't have my email from Steve here. Did Steve have questions on the actual docket, or were his only on the rules?
I think also they were on what we'll be meeting on next Wednesday specifically.
Oh, on Old
about-
Town.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank you.
what, so I think that comments should be addressed probably.
These are all general things. He got into specifics,
Okay. Sure.
which are good. I'm glad he
Right, no, super.
has
I just
ideas.
didn't want to miss it if it was on the docket. Okay, those are Connie's.
So are you going to add anything, or should I open up the public hearing?
I think you could probably open it up safely.
Okay, so at 6:53, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if anybody would like to make a public comment. Would anybody like to make a public comment? Are you sure that none of you would like to make a public comment? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:54. And go on to our next regular business, which is approval of what?
You have to, you need to recommend
Oh, I thought-
however you want the docket to go to council.
Oh, I didn't think we had to do that. That was my discussion.
Oh, no, it would be, oops. Tonight, after the public hearing, once you've considered all the comments that you've received and talked amongst yourselves, you recommend whichever
Okay,
items you
I
believe
got
should
it.
be on the,
But I had asked you if we had.
I was
and
thinking you
it
meant
doesn't make any
the
difference.
rules and regulations, sorry.
So I will ask again, are there any questions, concerns, changes?
I have no quarrels with what the city's put forward for the docket for the year.
So I need a motion to send the docket as listed to,
I'd like to make a motion to send the proposed comprehensive plan amendments for the 2020 docket to the city council.
do I have a second? Robin, would you like to second? Somebody second?
I'll second it.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor to send the docket as proposed to the city council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes, and
Nice.
it goes forward exactly the way it is.
Nice, thank you. Before I leave, I wanted to share with you the land use code docket for this year. You don't have to vote on it. It's just informational. I'm always thinking that you all know what we're working on, but since you're not up to your ears in this, which is a good thing, trust me, I wanted you all to see what things that you've already worked on that are coming through the pipe to council, and the things that you have not seen yet. Title 18, the land use code update, I think you saw just a brief precursor last year on the sign code part of it. But you haven't seen anything else yet, but you will certainly this year when the drafts are written and we start reviewing things, you'll see the whole land use code update. Old Town code amendments you saw in September, and you did a couple of work sessions and you made your recommendation to council in September. Those should be going to council in February, I believe, the code amendments? February 25th. I think I put those in the report section of your agenda. The Old Town architectural guidelines and design standards, you all have a meeting next week with Development Commission. It's super exciting. Those are coming through. That's like the second part of Old Town that you'll be working on. And then number 4 is a part that,
Trish, may I note that those also go after the February 12th meeting, they also go to city council on February 25th. It's an Old Town night.
for a work session, though, just
For a
to
work
update.
session, not for, yeah.
Yeah, you guys still have a lot of work to do on those before we're ready to have them approve anything, but we're going to give them an update as well. And thanks to you all that were at the really great weather workshop and tour in January. That was a fabulous day. And that number 4 is something that you already worked on. That was back in February of last year, wow, a year ago already. And that was the single-family suburban zone where we looked at removing the ability to build duplexes and cluster housing. That's still sort of bumping along. It's now being merged with the missing middle housing research we're doing on other types of housing that might fill in some of the gaps that the city doesn't have now. And so the reason that nothing has happened officially with the work that you did is because it's sort of morphing into more research. And if there's any questions on those 4, those are the big 4 that we're working on this year. Yes, I don't know whose hand went up first.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Trish, I wasn't here at that time, and I'm very interested in number 4. Could you possibly send me some information on what was done? Or is that possible?
I think it would, I could, yes. I think it would be, it's like had too many thoughts coming through. It's changed a lot since you all saw it in February. In February, last February, it was a real narrow question. Should new duplexes be allowed to be built in single-family suburban zones through the cluster provision? And it went from a really small, narrow focus that you all saw and recommended on to what other uses are in our single-family neighborhoods that maybe shouldn't be there? Is it only cluster provision? Is it only duplexes? Is it, so we sort of broadened the research. We sort of paused it and did some more research. And then the housing strategy piece for this year, one of them is looking at the missing middle types of houses like cottage housing, courtyard apartment type, littler around, things that we don't have in Issaquah, but might be a really good fit to try to get a little more density that would fit in a neighborhood, but wouldn't change the character. So the single-family suburban, we kept that research, but we're adding to it so that it's a bigger conversation instead of just being so narrowly focused on just duplexes and cluster in only one zone. I can still send you what you all did in February, but I don't want you to think that it's still that narrow.
Sounds like it was morphed into something that's such that what you would send me would not be tremendously informative for me.
Right, and it will definitely have to come back to you all again because it's changed so much since when you first saw it. But I wanted to remind you that you did some great work back then that caused a lot of people to think a lot of different things. So thank you for that. You opened up the can of worms as it was, but it was a good can to open, so that was super good. Any other questions on any of the 4? Yes, that's right.
So the number 3.
Yes.
These are so we had a moratorium on development.
Yes.
During the moratorium, the city hired a consultant on architectural guidelines and standards.
For Central, yes.
For Central District. This is essentially trying to do for Old Town what was already established or what we've got done along the same lines as what we did for the Central District. Is that correct? This is to give developers, based on what they want to do in recognition of the code, what they can do, or the zoning, but this is going to be a development out of what we did when we walked around in the rain.
Right.
To say, here, if you want to do something in Old Town, here are your range of options with regard to materials and colors and things like that. That's what this is.
Right, and I'd add to that, because that was a super good summary, is part of the moratorium for Central is that projects were getting built that council and the community, they didn't look like they thought they would look.
They were code compliant, but they...
Correct. Very delicate, thank you. But those are commercial and multifamily architectural, but it's the same thing in Old Town, except it's single family, and we've never done that before with single family, but it's not that there's pieces that have, it's a similar reason though, is when we did the sub-area plan, the Old Town sub-area plan, a lot of the community was worried that the charm and character and what was diminishing, and they wanted something to stop that for new development. And so that's where these came in. So it's the same sort of tool for you all, like on Development Commission, to use, or whoever it is that's reviewing it to use to keep the charm and character and bulk and height, but it's for different zoning categories.
And I'd also like to add, some of you, most of you may know, some of you may not know that we already have existing standards, design standards for the cultural and business district and the multifamily properties east of Sunset Way. So what we're doing there, it's not new, it's a refreshing and updating and bringing it more up to speed with the way people work today. So that's what that part is. And then the other part is completely new with the residential.
But super exciting, and I think you're all going to be there next week. So, and when you get, actually it went out today. When I asked you for the RSVP, I'd asked you for 6:30, because that's when we usually start, but as you know, DC usually starts at 7.
It goes on till midnight.
Yeah. Oh, boy, you guys are tough. But the cool thing about that night is they're also scheduling in the Eagle Room a workshop on traffic calming in Old Town. So it's like Old Town night here that night. And so from, I think it starts at 5:30 to 7, is in the Eagle Room. You can learn all about what they're doing with traffic calming in Old Town and things that they're trying and how things are working. But you can go to that and still come here at 7 to be with the Development Commission on the Old Town standards and design guidelines. So it's like, figure out that your whole night, bring a snack. Your whole night can be Old Town, all things great in Old Town. So that's on tap for next Wednesday. It's going to be exciting, I'm telling you. Are there other questions about code or other things before we jump into the rules?
Just the last
okay.
question on Wednesday night. What role does the Planning Commission folks who attend play? What was, yeah.
The reason it's a joint meeting is because we're just starting, is to let you all know what the project is, you and the Development Commission, because you all sort of help make the rules, and Development Commission implements the rules when they actually see a project come in and a site plan. And so we love to get you guys together so that if you all have this great idea, we want to do X, the Development Commission members will say, oh, but could you write it this way so that it's easier for us to implement it? So we love to get the two heads, the two groups together to help each other make really good tools for development so that it looks like the community wants it to look. So it'll be an update on what happened on the workshop and tour and the stakeholders meetings that have gone before, and then we'll talk about the proposal, how we think things will move forward. And we'll all be sitting, in a nice big U, so everybody's sitting together. Nobody will be, fighting for seats up on the dais. Any other questions? Okay. This is the end of my part. You received the rules, a draft in both packets of the rules for how PPC does things.
So you all sat through the meeting where the city clerk went over all of the rules that were there and anything proposed, and you all had input, and the minutes are in here of the changes that you requested, and I'd like to know if when you read the read out of copy, if all of the things that you wanted, all the language that was in it that you want to change has been incorporated into the new set. Any thoughts or changes that you want to offer? I think everything, well, did you?
I really appreciated Tina coming. I think that this new language helps us and is much clearer as to how we want to operate. We were operating on a model that was obviously incorrect with our bylaws because we had read it differently, and so I think this clears up some confusion. So I like it. I also think that we kind of missed a step last time, and it kind of occurred to me that Robin's voice wasn't heard, and that was one of the reasons that this kind of all came about. And I wanted to apologize to Robin because we were operating on a model that was incorrect, and when we had our vote, I think that you participated in a way that we all did and that we're happy to have you a part of it. And I'm sorry that your voice wasn't counted in a way that it should have.
But it will be in the future. I think that's of all the things I read, and I appreciated some of the language changes, but I didn't think they were major. But I think the biggest thing that is different was the fact that from the first day I got on planning policy, which was 100 years ago, it was always, you had to have a quorum. And if you had 4 people, regular members in a quorum, the alternates didn't need the vote. And so I think that's the biggest change, that now all 7 people, you can fill in for anybody of the 7 people, and you have 7 votes no matter what. So I think that's, to me, that was the biggest change in there. Anything else? Randy?
I'm not certain that this is directly related to the rules, but if we could go to page 2 of 25 in the agenda, I just would like a little explanation, a little clarity on the segment of number 2 that is in bold. I'm not certain that I completely understand. Council action was not consistent with PPC's recommendation.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a mess up here. Thank you for asking. This is the new section on the agenda that reports what council does with all the information.
And I want to be clear, I think that's a really good idea.
Right, I think it is too. I agree. And what I wanted to be sure you understood was when council goes with your recommendation, when they agree with you and take the same action that you recommended, I want you to know that. And I want you to also know if they don't, so that if you want to follow up with any of the council, or if you want to follow up with us, or watch the tape, watch the YouTube of the meeting, that then you know sort of what you're going to see is that they're, in this case, the 3 parcels for Providence, next to Providence Point, PPC had recommended that one of them be changed, rezoned to community facilities open space, but that the other 2 remain the same zoning so that there couldn't be a high school. But the council didn't go that way. They recommended that all 3 of them be rezoned and redesignated so it could be community facilities, so there would be able to be a proposal for a high school. The reason that was bold is to catch your attention that they didn't go with your recommendation, but they did on the other ones.
No, I think it's particularly useful for us, and I don't speak for everybody else, but I like to know what happens when we spend the time that we do and send a recommendation to the mayor and the council, and they don't follow it. I think it's helpful to understand, so we don't continue to make the same, we understand why something that we recommended was not accepted by our customer.
Right. Right. But be aware, though, if you do watch the video, they talk about your recommendation a lot.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Which I thought that was really great, that they pulled it apart and thought about it and pondered it, and I was very proud that you guys went on your own and said, this is how it ought to be. So I was proud of you all.
I want to follow up on that. I am amazed at the power that the council basically gives us in the way of looking at the recommendations and how they present the different issues of what did PPC say. We want to make sure that they, we know we want to know what they're thinking, what their comments are on it. So I really appreciate that. I think it's a testament to the questions that you ask and the concern you have for the different issues. You tear it apart, which is what you're supposed to do. So I think you do a good job. And of course, staff does, and our scribe does.
Can you get a motion on the rules?
Yeah, I'm getting there,
Okay.
I'm getting there, I'm getting there. Just give me a chance.
I know, I'm just,
It's only 10 after 7.
I know, the creek is
so-
rising.
So I didn't hear anybody that wanted any changes made to it. Everything is fine the way it is written. So
Questions?
go ahead.
I looked today at the procedures for all of the commissions when it comes to the public hearing, and I was really surprised that there's no uniformity. Sometimes it's at the end of the meeting, sometimes it's after the applicant makes
Oh,
yeah, I know.
I'm
This
glad
is-
you brought that
this-
up.
This is this part of it. But is there a particular reason, and I know I brought this up before, but it seems to me that, again, it would be helpful for members of the public that attend a meeting and that have done their homework to have an opportunity to present, to speak to commissions, plural, but particularly for this one, before we go into discussion of it, so we have the benefit of public input. And I don't know if that, participation section 6 on 21 of 25 talks about the public participation. And, excuse me, but there's no direction about maybe what's the most desirable point in our meetings for there to be the opportunity for members of the public to speak.
Right.
So is that just apparently up to the individual commissions to decide when they want to do that as it stands now?
Well, on section 9, at the bottom of page 22,
Just a second. Yep.
and I think the clerk's office is trying to get all the commissions to be consistent, and so, like, for tonight, as a matter of course, we had a public hearing, so there would have been a chance on that topic, but then we have audience comments at the end, so if someone wanted to talk to you about a previous decision or Old Town or something that's not actually on the public hearing piece, that's when they would get to ask or tell you whatever it is that they want to tell you. So on public hearing nights, there's 2 chances for folks to tell you. But on other nights where we don't have a public hearing, they have audience comments that they can. Does that help?
At the end.
At the end, right. And are you thinking that they should talk to us sooner? Or
Well, no, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I just think that if people come to speak to an agenda item, that seems to me to be best for our
Sure.
presentation if they have an opportunity to express their concerns or their research or whatever before we actually start discussions ourselves. So this looks good to me. I mean,
Okay.
the way it's there.
So,
But I just noticed that all the commissions, there's no uniformity. There are some at one
Right.
place and some at the other.
I think that's one of the reasons that the clerks are coming around to try to get more consistency
That's
with
right.
all of us, because I think we didn't notice as much until some members started being on other boards and commissions and realizing that many of them do things differently.
Okay, thank you.
So then just following up on that, so next Wednesday, we have a combined meeting, but it's not a session in the same sense that we're having now. It's not a commission meeting in the normal course of events where public would be able to comment, is that right?
They would be.
So
There
they
wouldn't
have
be a
different
public hearing, but at the end, I'm sure after we do our presentation, I think the agenda says that it's maybe at 9, because we start at 7. So I think at 9, there's audience comments for next Wednesday, so
the
they
fact
still
that
get a
we may have a
chance.
different process than the Development Commission is not an issue that might come up next Wednesday then? So
No,
we
'cause
start
we-
discussing when the heck they're going to talk.
Right, no, because we sent the agenda out already, and it looks very similar to a PPC agenda with all the
and
steps.
who
as
set
it
the
should. Thank
agenda?
you. Yes, it was emailed today, this afternoon.
So I have a question. When I read that, it says approval of minutes, and that goes right into a public hearing. I'm assuming that the presentation comes before the public hearing.
Yeah, public hearing would be everything that's involved in the public hearing. Like tonight, it was my
Okay,
presentation, your
so
question and answers.
So that's
the
part
public
of it,
hearing
because
part,
when I
yeah.
read that, I thought, well, gee, no, you have to have the presentation and.
Right.
So that we can understand both sides of
Right,
it.
and that's all part of that,
Okay.
that one section.
Now that you've said it that way,
Right. And since you all are the first group that we did the reports section on it, if there's more that you would want, like I put a live link to the ordinances, in case you wanted to dig deeper. I don't know if you would want more than that. I have the link to the website. I kind of tend to give you all the information I can think of to give you. And if there's more that you want, let me know, but that's sort of what we're thinking would be the standard reports section.
there might be some issue that comes up that might need more,
Okay,
but I think this gives us a general idea, and if we want more information, we know where to get it. So
Okay.
I'm,
okay.
I think
Since it
that's
was
great.
new, I would ask if it,
unless somebody else has a different,
okay,
you
ponder
want
it.
more.
I like
We're
the
open
idea
to
of links.
tweaking.
And again, if somebody wants to do a deeper dive, it can be brought up.
Okay, perfect.
So, schedule.
Rules?
Oh, the rules. Oh, yeah, the rules.
I would like to make a motion to approve the Planning Policy Commission rules and regulations.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion
Excellent.
passes.
Excellent.
Oh, man.
Goodness, you okay?
I was so interested in making sure that I forgot.
No,
Okay,
it's good.
so-
It's exciting.
Other business.
The next meeting is Wednesday. It's going to be an exciting night, so be prepared for lots of excitement. A lot of, the DC members, it's going to be exciting. Be ready, yes.
We have some meetings in the calendar that don't, TBD, going in next year.
Yes.
Is it possible, or what is the mechanism, if it is possible, what is the mechanism if we want to get the head of the transportation effort, the mobility plan?
Right.
To give us, before we have either during or before we have an upcoming thing that is going to look specifically at a transportation issue or whatever, do we have does this commission have the opportunity to say, why don't, at this TBD meeting, can we have that person come in and spend the agenda item, or at least part of the meeting, talking to us? How does?
Because we have him on for May.
No, I'm not talking about specific. So
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying if there's something that's not already scheduled.
Or an idea.
You're
of
wondering
having
if there's a
time.
way to fill. We have some space, how do I make a suggestion of something I'm interested in?
Exactly.
Or maybe
Assuming
even,
the
whether it
commission-
be city staff or another commission, if you want to meet with the transportation board, you're saying if you have an interest.
If the whole commission does.
Right, it would depend on if it's in our work plan.
Yeah.
Because let's say you wanted to start working on, I can't even think of something. If it's not already in our work plan, we probably wouldn't be able to because of our resources and all that. They wouldn't want us all of a sudden going off into another direction. But if it's something that we're all working on or we're going to be working on, we can try and make that happen. Like if it's on housing or if it's on, something that we're already working on.
Something within the purview of the PPC,
Right.
I wouldn't.
Right.
Randy's curious, how would he bring that up? Does he propose it to staff? Does he propose it here? If he has something he's interested in, he's wondering what the mechanism is to
Or is that
fill it.
something that
Is that-
staff determines, just you guys working together?
Well, I
you
think-
guys determine?
No, if you're interested in, but if it was something like fire prevention,
No.
it's probably out of our purview. But if it's something, I think you would just talk about it here and I can run it up the flagpole.
Well, that's,
to
yeah,
see
I would
if-
assume that would be at the desire of the full commission. I mean, not an individual commissioner.
Right.
Somebody says, hey, so would we say, I have an order of business that I'd like to discuss? Since we're going to be looking at X in a month, would it be possible on this to be determined date to have, a staff head or in that department come in and talk to us. And then if the commission thinks, yeah, that would be helpful,
We can try it,
send
sure.
the invitation.
I can't
Hypothetically,
guarantee
Randy
that we
would like to
can,
have a
but we
pizza
can try
party
it.
here one of these days.
As long as it's
Invite all
not,
of our friends.
as long as it's not gluten-free.
So to your question, Randy, what you're proposing is, let's say you want to discuss the fire situation.
No,
on-
okay, go
on
ahead.
Squaw
No,
Mountain.
it has to be in the,
our doc,
Ron,
yeah.
in the purview of the Planning Policy Commission, land use, things like that.
Right. So, and then maybe have the fire department come in or someone like that with expertise to be able to talk about that.
I'm going to go back to
Or
what
it could be
what
like
Trish is-
when you all were doing the wireless code amendment, and there was a question about, some folks wanted, the whole future of wireless, and, what about this and that and the other, which was, super fascinating, but it was way out of the realm of the code amendments. And so we couldn't do that, but we could do, we had the providers here, and they talked about what they needed, and we talked about the code, and we talked about our polls and things. So in that sense, we still talked about the issue that you needed to talk about for the code amendment, but we weren't talking about the technology part of it and things that it was going and what you could do with it and all those things. So I think it depends on the topic,
Oh, yeah,
which part of the
absolutely.
topic. Does that help, Ron?
And it would
on
have to be the
how
full,
we would be
like I
able to
said, the
do it or not?
consensus of the commission that they wanted, that we want to do that. I mean,
Right.
I just am not sure what the mechanism is.
Exactly.
I would just bring it up at whatever part of the agenda this is of other things, other new business. Thank you.
If it doesn't happen to be on our agenda on that specific date.
Number 6
I mean,
maybe.
we
Other
could
business
ask
amendments.
at the end of every meeting if there was some issue that you wanted more information on, or as a standard thing. So if you could put that at the end of our agenda.
I can't add a new section, but it can be under the last section, which is, I think, is it good of the order? No.
Yeah.
It's called Other Business and Announcements. Thank you. Number 6.
Okay.
Are there any, Randy, or are you just asking? Okay.
Well, I certainly have one that I would be very interested in. So the next meeting then is appropriate to bring up at least something of personal interest, which I think is in the purview of the Planning Commission, and we can just talk about it. Is that the process?
Right, and it probably wouldn't be the next meeting, because that'll be with Development Commission.
No, I meant the next.
But the
of our
next
regular
one, that's
Planning
just
Commission.
our little, you're
Yes.
right,
Is that right? All right.
right.
We want to be on very good behavior the next time.
And I want pizza when I
Thank
do
you,
it.
And to clarify, we will probably now, because we were so good in our meeting tonight, moving forward, we won't be meeting on the 27th. We were thinking the 27th would be a holdover if we continued
Good
business
que-
tonight.
The 13th would have been a holdover. So as of this moment, because you got through the public hearing and the recommendation, we'll cancel the February 13th regular meeting of the Planning Policy Commission. Thank you for reminding me, because I have to let Gretchen know. We were leaving it open in case the
Yes.
public hearing, something happened, like floods or whatever, that we needed another date to still get it to council in March.
Oh,
One meeting next week.
So only one meeting next week.
One
Sorry,
meeting.
guys, I know you wanted more, but only
you
one.
said February 3rd, I remember, but February 13th, it's like, I didn't see that on here.
Do you have any idea what could possibly be on the 27th, the meeting on the 27th? You can say no.
It's probably, does it say TBD?
Yeah.
TBD.
Then, are there people that can't be here already?
I cannot be on the 27th.
No, Joy, okay.
What's the point?
But at this moment, I don't have a scheduled item. Things are moving, but they're not like gelled yet to bring to
Okay.
you. Then that's all for, anything, no, Andrew's,
So we've done the schedule, we've done,
audience comments?
I would love to have audience comments. If
Has anything to say?
our new
No comments, no
freezing
problem?
assistant would like to make a comment, otherwise,
We're done? Everybody be safe out there.
yeah. I would like somebody to find some sun somewhere.
Oh, God.
Everybody, Is it coming? Well, it's always coming, it's just I want it to come sooner.
I mean, Sunday with possibility of snow.
Really?
I saw snow on the weather.
Just as a positive thing, I hope this comes across as positive. I drove around today just to look to see, and I think the city, the work that the city has done to expand the floodplain and to try to mitigate 2009 when we had the last thing like this. No data, just observation.
Feels like it's working.
Yeah. It seems to me that it would have been, the amount of rain that fell is the same as of about 2 o'clock as it was in 2009 when we had it over Newport Bridge, like over the bridge. So, it just seems to me that if you look long-term at where we were and what we've done in the whole city and the PPC and the rest of it, it seems to me that it could have been a lot worse if the work hadn't been done in the last, 6-8 years or whatever it was.
Were you in the city when we had one of these episodes and there was this much water going down Gilman Boulevard?
Yes, and
That was 90.
where Atlas is now, the
Yes.
shopping center there was underwater, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but the whole-
Anti-Aircraft
the whole-
Creek jumped its banks and went back to
Okay,
the
with
old.
that,
Anyways, it just,
with that,
Shout out to Public Works.
I would close the meeting at 7:29.
Well done. Thank you all.